Imagine for a second that the next Silicon Valley isn't really a place, not a specific spot on the map anyway, but maybe it's more like a huge network spread out across continents you might not immediately think of. And what if the big fight in AI, the real dominance game, isn't just about who builds the biggest, smartest foundational models? What if it's actually about who enables the most people to use AI, to apply it, to solve actual problems out there in the real world? Because, well, there's a new alliance stepping up, kind of unexpected, and they're looking to completely redraw the AI map. Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're digging into something pretty fascinating, this big strategic partnership. It's between EON AI Venture and Saudi Arabia. And their goal, it's massive. They want to grab a huge piece of the global AI economy, but with a specific focus on what they're calling the Global South.
That's absolutely right. And our mission, really, in this deep dive is to unpack how exactly they plan to do this. We're talking about powering, get this, 100,000 startups, 100,000. And they're aiming squarely at that enormous $15.7 trillion AI application layer. So the core idea, and this is really key, isn't just, building fancy AI tech. It's fundamentally about applying it, solving real complex problems on a global scale we haven't really seen before.
Okay, let's get into that. This alliance, what makes their strategy so different, so unique right from the get-go, especially when you compare it to the big players we usually talk about in AI?
Well, what's really interesting, I think, is their core strategic idea. It kind of redefines where the value in AI is actually going to be. We hear a lot about the U.S. and China, right? Battling it out over large language models, the LLMs. That's like the infrastructure, the basic electricity of AI, if you will. But this alliance, they're zeroing in on the application layer.
Yeah.
Think of it like building the actual appliances that use that AI electricity,
Right.
making it useful, practical day to day. They're not just trying to build a bigger power plant. They want to build millions of smart devices powered by it, tailored for specific needs.
Okay, and here's where it gets really interesting for me. The source material suggests these foundational models, the big LLMs, they're rapidly becoming almost like utilities. Like the cost to use them is dropping towards zero. So if the basic tech gets cheap and, well, everywhere, like a commodity, what does that mean? Where does the real economic value end up? Where's the power if everyone has the electricity?
Exactly. That's the crucial pivot. If those models are becoming commoditized and you see open source alternatives pushing that trend hard, making proprietary models less defensible, then the sustainable economic value, it absolutely shifts. It moves to the applications. And the reason is, well, it's pretty profound. Applications are where AI meets the real world. They're about solving actual problems, which needs deep local knowledge, understanding cultural nuances, specific user behaviors, things like that. That's where you build sustainable businesses, create real value, find a competitive edge. It's not just about having a slightly bigger model anymore. It's about how well you use the AI power to fix something specific for someone specific.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? When we picture AI's future, are we stuck on the underlying tech, or are we thinking about the everyday solutions it enables? And this deep dive seems to argue strongly that the latter, the solutions, that's where the real change is coming, especially for the Global South. It's a pretty big shift in thinking.
And that strategic thinking is precisely why Saudi Arabia is playing such a central part here. The plan is to set up Riyadh as the global HQ for developing AI entrepreneurship. The ambition is huge, to become the Singapore of the AI age, as they put it, essentially acting as a vital bridge, connecting capital and advanced AI from the global north to unlock all that talent and problem-solving potential sitting in the global south.
That's a really bold vision, and the source points to some specific advantages Saudi Arabia has for this role, right? First, geography. It's right there at the crossroads of Africa, Asia, the Middle East, huge growing markets, a natural gateway. Then there's demographics. Access to a region that by 2050 could have something like 88% of the world's population. It's just an incredible pool of people, both talent and consumers. And maybe the biggest piece, the sovereign backing. That $100 billion Project Transcendence fund is mentioned specifically. That kind of long-term, stable funding not tied to quarterly market swings, that's serious commitment.
Absolutely serious. And that connects directly to what the source calls the Global South application advantage. See, the Global South isn't just seen as a market for AI here. It's positioned to actually lead in AI applications for a few key reasons. First, problem concentration. Basically, this region has the highest density of really urgent unsolved problems in health, education, farming, infrastructure, you name it. Solving these isn't just nice to have, it creates immense value. Second, market expertise. The entrepreneurs in the Global South,
They have this lived, intuitive grasp of the culture, the local needs, the economic realities, something external players often miss. That deep understanding helps build AI apps that people actually want and use. Third is legacy absence. This is interesting. Many places can skip over older tech generations entirely. They can jump straight to AI-native solutions without fighting old, clunky systems. That allows for really disruptive leaps. And lastly, maybe most importantly, innovation necessity. The sheer pressure of daily real-world challenges. That drives the most valuable AI applications because they solve urgent fundamental problems.
Right. So for years, the default thinking has been, innovation hubs are places like Silicon Valley, established centers. But this alliance, they're betting completely differently. They're going where the biggest problems are. And crucially, where the talent best suited to solve those specific problems actually lives. It's a real perspective shift. Okay, but powering 100,000 startups, that number is staggering. How do they actually plan to do that? Systematically. This is where that 7-step wealth weaver framework you mentioned comes in, EON's proprietary thing. The source calls it a comprehensive end-to-end entrepreneurship ecosystem. What does that mean in practice? How does it work?
It really is like a full pipeline, a venture forging pipeline, designed very carefully to reduce risk at every stage, from just an idea all the way to market scale. Let's maybe touch on a couple of the really key steps to get a feel for it. Step 1 is AI-powered talent discovery. They use something called EON Wayfinder. Now, this isn't just scanning resumes. It uses pretty sophisticated algorithms, proprietary ones, tuned specifically for Global South markets. It looks for entrepreneurial potential problem-solving skills in tough environments, curiosity, cultural smart stuff that doesn't always show up on a CV, and it's built to handle potentially millions of candidates, finding those hidden gems. Then you jump to step 3, and this is, potentially transformative. The 30 million agent AI workforce. Think of this not just as tools, but a whole intelligent AI development platform. It gives startups top-tier capabilities right away. Imagine AI agents helping write code, debug, manage infrastructure, even initial legal checks or customer service bots. The claim is this leads to developing apps 10 times faster, automating maybe 90% of operational stuff and cutting out millions in typical startup costs. It basically levels the playing field, letting small teams punch way above their weight. Then look at step 5, immediate marketplace access. Access to a network of 136 million users from day one. Now that is a game changer because the number one reason startups fail often is just not finding customers fast enough, right? No revenue. This gives them instant access, feedback, early sales, a base to build on. It takes a huge amount of risk off the table right at the start. And finally, step 6, capital connection. This provides a direct link, connects the entrepreneurs who've proven themselves within the framework, straight to that $100 billion Saudi fund, Project Transcendence, and other global investors too. It's not random pitching. It's a streamlined path to serious capital for businesses that have already shown they have attraction. Much higher chance of success than traditional VC roulette.
Okay, so it's definitely not just handing out grants or being a standard accelerator program, is it? This sounds much more like a systematic, heavily supported, de-risked pathway designed specifically to turn potential talent into actual scaled AI companies. It really is a venture forging pipeline. But given all that, what do you see as the biggest challenge, making this huge vision actually happen?
That's a very fair question. The framework looks solid on paper, but the sheer scale, managing 100,000 startups, across diverse cultures, different regulations, different market needs, that's an immense operational challenge. Keeping quality high, providing meaningful mentorship, ensuring market relevance for that many ventures, it'll demand incredible execution and adaptability. It's as much logistics as tech. But the potential economic impact they're projecting is just staggering. They highlight the 1.1 billion young people aged 15-24 in the Global South, maybe the biggest untapped human resource pool ever. The initial projections talk about creating over 100,000 quality jobs, maybe $10 billion plus in direct economic impact just from the first wave. And the potential value of that portfolio of 100,000 companies down the line could be $50, $100 billion, maybe more, creating entirely new industries.
So when we look at the competition in Silicon Valley, China the Source makes a pretty bold claim. It says this alliance has an unbeatable advantage. What's the thinking there? What's the strategic logic behind saying they're unbeatable? How do they back that up?
Yeah, that's a strong statement, isn't it? The source lays out what it calls the strategic partnership logic. First, the sheer financial and institutional capabilities. It's hard to overstate this. That $100 billion from Project Transcendence, backed by, $3.5 trillion in Gulf sovereign wealth. That gives it unparalleled stability, long-term vision, strategic patience. It's not chasing quick exits like some VCs. It can weather storms. Patient capital on a massive scale. Second, it slots perfectly into Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030. This isn't some side project. It's core to their national goal of diversifying away from oil, building a knowledge economy, generating new revenue streams by exporting AI solutions. So it has top-level strategic backing and support, which is crucial. And then they contrast this with other models, Silicon Valley accelerators, for example. Great at what they do, but often struggle with context failure when just plopped into the global south. Their networks, their mentorship style, even their definition of product-market fit doesn't always translate well to vastly different market realities and needs. It's just not designed for it.
And Chinese initiatives, while amazing at building massive infrastructure, digital roads, they sometimes have an innovation gap at the grassroots level. Great at building the highways, maybe less focused on empowering local entrepreneurs to build all the unique vehicles needed to drive on them effectively. This alliance seems designed to specifically fill that gap, build the capacity for localized ground-up innovation.
Okay, so pulling it all together, what's the bigger picture here? The source implies this goes beyond just business, beyond profit.
Exactly. The vision ultimately is about transforming the whole geography of innovation. It's a conscious effort to create, as they say, distributed prosperity rather than increased inequality. The aim is to establish Saudi Arabia not just as a regional hub, but the global Singapore of the AI age, the key center for global South AI development. They frame it almost as a civilizational choice. Does innovation keep concentrating wealth and opportunity in the same old places? Or can it be intentionally directed to where the problems are biggest and where the potential for positive impact is greatest, no matter where that is geographically?
Wow. Okay. We've covered a huge amount in this deep dive. From that fundamental strategic shift focusing on AI applications, not just the core tech, to the unique strengths of Saudi Arabia and the global South working together. And then this incredibly detailed Wealth Weaver framework designed to systematically build companies. It's clear this isn't just about tech development. It feels like a complete rethinking of how innovation gets nurtured and scaled and who benefits.
And that really leaves us, and you listening, with a big question to think about. If the real value of AI does turn out to be in these culturally specific problem-solving applications, how might this partnership fundamentally change not just who's leading the AI race, but where the next big wave of global innovation actually comes from?
Yeah, it definitely makes you wonder how an alliance like this could genuinely impact global development, change who gets access to technology, and maybe, just maybe, upload billions around the world. We hope this deep dive has given you some fresh perspectives on this really dynamic landscape of AI and global power.